We're seeing a pretty special package here that I wish we could track the audio for you guys, but it's an Owen Hart package where we show all the different headlines about Owen passing away. A nice little title graphic you're seeing with us at 83weeks.com where it's him in a ring and his name and the years. And then we go to the article that Bret had written in the Calgary Sun. And it's a pretty fantastic video package, just talking about Bret Hart and his brother Owen and their family's history in wrestling and some clips of Bret and WCW. We're about to hear from Bret for the first time publicly in months, since really the first time since his father's passed away. And you see, I mean, this is probably one of the better packages that WCW put together, and it kind of flies below the radar. But you guys did a really great tribute shot as we're going to close the segment with a dark shot of the ring, just a solo spotlight on the ring. Really, really well done here. And what's interesting is it's not like Owen Hart was a part of your company. I mean, I know he had a cup of coffee with WCW back in the day, but he worked for the competition. But you guys still went out of your way to do this really nice tribute video. What can you tell us about that, if anything?
It was, I mean, no details. I couldn't tell you who produced it. I could guess, but I don't want to do that because it might offend the person that actually did it if I got it wrong. So I don't remember who actually produced it, but it was more out of respect and support for Bret. I mean, true, Owen was not a part of WCW. He was a part of WWE, but Bret was a part of WCW at this time. And, losing Owen and going through everything that Bret had gone through was important for us to recognize and just give him as much support and love as we could, as well as the audience. I mean, but honestly, it was more for Bret. It was to help Bret, to get him back and allow him to at least attempt to find closure.
He's going to say in this promo here that he's been told that he has all the time he wants, so he's going to try not to rush. But he's going to thank wrestling fans on behalf of the entire Hart family for all the well wishes they've received. And he says that WCW has given him a chance to collect himself, and he appreciates that. He says Owen wasn't your average wrestler. He was a great human being. And Bret doesn't think there's anyone that can say a bad thing about him. They were the closest of all of his brothers and never had a single argument. I mean, this is, you can see him just looking around how emotional he is because it's a huge reaction. People are excited to see him. They want to support him. They know this is real. And what's crazy is I think when people talk about Bret and WCW, they never mention this segment. And I want your opinion as to why. I mean, I realize that it's not wrestling storyline. It's not him winning a championship or what have you. But it is real and it is special. And I don't feel like anybody discusses it. Even Bret, like when he talks about his WCW experience, he just goes off as if it's largely all negative. And hey, that's his prerogative. But this, you guys affording him this opportunity, I thought this was really, really classy. Like, I could see other organizations not really doing this. They're in a cat fight. Hey, we're trying to gain ground and blah, blah, blah. But you just carve out as much of the show as he wants to just talk. Pretty classy gesture there, Eric.
It just seemed like the right thing to do at the time for Bret. And again, I was very, I had a lot of affection for Bret. I thought a lot of him. And we had developed a reasonably good friendship, at least I thought we had, over a couple of year period of time. So it just seemed like the right thing to do. It didn't seem out of place to me at all, to be honest. And I think the reason people don't talk about it is because when it comes to wrestling, people look, if you look at why do people watch wrestling? I actually had somebody on podcasts that I used to do with Alba, Strictly Business. And one of the first episodes, first, second, third episode we had, talked to a psychologist who had studied wrestling and wrestling fans, because I was really curious as to the reasons. There's more than one, obviously. The main reasons why people watch wrestling. And there are a lot of them, but at its core, it's conflict and resolution. People like to debate. People love the conflict. They love the heat. They love people throwing hand grenades back and forth at each other. That's what they're attracted to. And this is not that. This is human. It was kind. It was heartfelt. It was everything that, generally speaking, wrestling is not, which is probably why nobody talks about it. That and the fact that, Bret Hart can't open his mouth without shitting all over WCW and me. That's just Bret. He's never going to change. There's never going to be a light bulb that's going to go off in Bret's head and go, wow, actually, despite all the things I've been through, I've had a pretty good life. And I've got plenty of life ahead of me. He's never going to be that guy. He's always going to blame somebody, hate somebody, need to disparage somebody without taking any responsibility for himself. It's always everybody else's fault, and nobody is as smart or as talented as Bret Hart, according to Bret Hart. He just recently criticized Paul Levesque. Didn't think Paul Levesque was the right guy for the spot in WWE, despite everything that Paul is doing and the success that they've had under his reign and direction. But in Bret's mind, Paul Levesque shouldn't be in that spot. Bret should be in that. He didn't say that, of course, but nobody is as smart, as talented, as knowledgeable about the professional wrestling business as Bret Hart, and everybody else is in over their head. And as is Bret. He's never going to change. Unfortunately, I wish he would, for his sake. I don't really give a shit, but for his sake, I wish he would.
Really a great segment here. I would encourage you to go out of your way to listen to it. We would track it for you if we could, but WWE doesn't want anyone to know about Peacock. It's a secret. He's going to say in this promo, though, that Eric Bischoff has asked him what he wants to do, but Bret admits he's not sure where he wants to go with his life. He says the Hart family has lived and died for wrestling, and there's really not much left for him to accomplish. And he sees all these other great athletes retiring in 99, and they all seem so happy. And he's afraid that his career will end in tragedy, but he just doesn't know. Bret thanks all of his fans everywhere and all the wrestlers he's worked with over the years. He hopes he wasn't too stiff. So it feels like a farewell speech. It feels like a goodbye. It feels like a retirement speech. Did you know that was the vibe and the tone and tenor, or was it all just up to him?
That was all up to him. I didn't talk to him about what he was going to say. Didn't have any limits on it. As he said, I gave him all the time he wanted. There was no rush. But no, I did not know. And I wonder, and I'm not being a smart ass here, but I wonder if in Bret's mind he wished he would have retired right then and right there. Because ultimately, I think he would have been a happier person had he done it.
It's hard to argue, especially when you consider it's this same calendar year. It's Starrcade of this year where he gets that mule kick from Goldberg. I mean, so we're 5 months away from that. With the benefit of hindsight, that's pretty crazy timing, is it not?
Sure is. Sure is.